Mic'd up.
Episode 10 of the Jack and Jack podcast, where we're breaking down all things in the world of sports. Jack, it's been a heck of a week around the world of sports. We'll dive into all that. But first, you got a lovely Michigan State Spartans jersey on. Let's hear about it a little bit.
Draymond Green, baby. Got to rep number 2, 3 in the green and white. Big week for Spartan fans. We get Jeremy Fears coming back, looking to be one of, if not the last chance Tom Izzo has as a title run. So this is a big one for the Spartans. Very happy about it. Love my guy Draymond. Very controversial player. Still one of my favorite players of all time. Now, big week in college basketball for my guys, but as well for your guys, Big Blue Nation. Talk to me about it.
Milan Momcilovic commits to Kentucky, predicted on this show just a little over a week ago. Milan is the best shooter in the entire country, and he showed that last year. He shot 49% from three on 136 makes. I mean, just an unbelievable season for Milan Momcilovic. He shoots 8 of them a game. He fits Mark Pope's offense perfectly, and now it looks like Kentucky might actually have a team that can compete at a high level because I mean, this team this year was just not it. And so the Kentucky fans have been dying for some positive news. They get walked off in baseball in the regional, and then less than 30 minutes later, Milan commits and Big Blue Nation rejoices. So a big win for Mark Pope, who kind of has dispelled some of the he can't recruit narratives with the Milan signing. Obviously, 6 million going to Milan. It was Kentucky and Louisville were the final two for Milan. So definitely a big recruitment for UK, who could not lose this guy to Louisville, and definitely for Mark Pope could not whiff on another big guy. So a big day for Big Blue Nation and for Kentucky as they get to be excited about next season, which is just it's so nice to be able to be excited because it was looking pretty bleak here in the bluegrass for that team next season.
That really is one of the biggest things in college basketball. Is like it's so much easier to buy into your team. Like obviously we're both diehard fans of our squad, so we're gonna be there no matter what and watch every game no matter what. It just makes it that much better when you can actually think you have a chance at winning. Like both these teams could be slated to a top seed line this upcoming season. So I'm very excited for it. Champions Classic is gonna be pretty loaded again. It always is. It's been a little weak these last
Yeah.
couple years. I mean, Michigan State has had a couple bad years. Kentucky's had a couple of years where it's been a little questionable. Duke's usually pretty good. Kansas, for some reason, they're always ranked at the top and then have fallen off these last few years. They were number one in the country when they beat us last year and then fell all the way off the face of the earth. So I mean, it's going to be a very interesting season. That really is honestly one of my favorite events of the college basketball season. So I'm excited to see that one as well.
It's a great event. It's going to feature 4 top 15 teams this year, which is always what makes it so cool. You get 4 programs with that kind of history, and anytime you get this year to be Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, Michigan State. I mean, those matchups are legendary, and they go way back. And it's all this history between all these schools. Duke, Michigan State. You think of that Elite Eight game with Zion, with Cassius Winston for the Spartans winning that one. I mean, it's been a great run here for Michigan State under Tom Izzo, and they've kind of asserted themselves as one of the top programs in the country alongside those 3 blue bloods. So always a great event, so much fun. Excited for the Champions Classic, excited for college basketball, and it feels great to be able to say that. And it feels just a little bit more great that we got him over Louisville. Anytime you can get something over those guys, it's just that little bit better. So big news in the Big Blue Nation. But, on the basketball front as well, Jack, you've been doing all kinds of stuff there in DC. Let's hear a little bit about some of the interviews that you've been doing. I've been seeing them all over social media.
Yes, sir. So I'm working for a prep league called Capital Hoops. It's located at DeMatha, a pretty historic high school venue with a lot of national championships, 6 to their name. It's been a very fun league. There's a thing called DMV Live coming up where a lot of college coaches are going to be in attendance, and a lot of the top players in the DMV in the country are coming into play in it. I'm very excited for that. What I'll do is I'll kind of watch the game. I'll report it on Twitter, do a halftime report, show some clips, some nice plays, and then after I'll grab the best player and go to a post game interview. And it's been a cool thing, honestly, talking to some of these kids. They're so young. I mean, there's 15-year-olds there who are dropping 25 and some pretty impressive performances. It's fun because I was really tapped into high school basketball when I was in high school, and then once I went to college, like okay, I'm not really around that anymore. I'm not really too tapped in, but like seeing the next up and coming players and then kind of monitoring where they're going to go to school, it's been a pretty cool experience. I've got to interview some really good players. Jeremiah Williams, the son of Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams, NBA legend. And then he's been dropping 30 a game. He's a pretty good player. This kid named Will Brown doing it 56 and 40 in one day. Some pretty fun performances to watch and just good hoops. It's been a really fun experience. I've enjoyed it, and I'll do it for the remainder of the league until middle of July. So it's a fun experience. It's a good internship, and I really enjoy doing it.
Oh, I saw you got to interview Junkyard Dog too. How was that?
The guy's the man. He's the nicest dude. He's the nicest dude in the world. He just wants to see his son win. I mean, their team is really two guys who take every single shot. Jeremiah Williams and then Carter Brooks, the other kid, he's a point guard, and the two of them really just take every single shot. The rest of the team is not built of a ton of like good players, but he's there screaming and encouraging every single player on the team. It could be the worst guy on the roster. He's up there. They get an and one. He's up, flexing his muscles, getting hype for him. Great guy. Every time I see him, gives me daps. Says like, "Thank you for the interviews." Like, what he's a really good dude, and on a very cool experience. He reposted me to the Instagram, which was cool. Very grateful for that. He's just a good guy overall, and I'm looking forward to trying to get more of those kind of interviews and try to build off that network because that just great dude. Guy's a great dude.
Oh, that's great. Where's his son looking at going to schools? Where how far away from that process for these guys?
Yeah, he's a few years out. We're not really sure yet where he's gonna go, but I think he's definitely looking to start. I think offers are gonna start coming in soon. He's a very good scorer. I mean, he's 30 a game right now. He's top three in the league in scoring. The thing that is questionable, and it's not his passing ability. He has great passing ability. The assist numbers aren't right there. It's probably because of the roster. I'd really like to see a guy like that on a really strong team to see how it is. Because when a guy's getting double, triple team most plays, when there's a ball screen, they're not going under it or over it. There's double teaming him every single time, getting the ball out of his hands, making it difficult for him. I want to see him on a good roster with players like all five players on the floor can play to really see the best of his abilities. And I think if he when he gets on like a really good AAU team over the summer or next summer or whenever he's going to really start to be recruited, I think he'll be able to shine. I mean, he's huge. I mean, I'm not a short guy. I'm 6'2", and he made me look tiny in that interview. So he's got the size, he's got the length, he definitely has the shooting ability. He's got the basketball IQ. He can rebound. I'm very excited for his future.
You think he's a high major D1 guy, or like what are they thinking for him?
I think if he can fill out more, he's pretty skinny. I think if he fills out more, I think he could definitely play at a high D1 level. Absolutely, I think he could. I think some things you're just born with, and a guy who's 6'6", probably going to grow a little more, that can shoot out of the gym, and also knows how to play the game, and also is being coached and trained by a former NBA player. You get to learn all those different things from him, which kind of gives you the leg up, and he can get connected to all these different people. But at the end of the day, it's what he can do on the court, and I think his future is in very good hands. And I do believe he can play at the high D1 level. I do believe that.
Well, we'll stay on the topic of basketball. Why not? Three straight basketball segments here to get us rolling. We always love this area of the year because there's so many good sports going on, and basketball is at the forefront too with the NBA. We're on to the finals. Jack, we set the line at 3.5 Thunder losses. They took their fourth. The Thunder are eliminated. The Spurs get them. Can you believe it?
I could not believe my eyes watching Game 7, to be honest. The Spurs were always in that series, and the Spurs are such a great team. Victor Wembanyama is an unbelievable force of nature. But there was always that thought in the back of my head, at least, I don't know about you, that the Thunder just were not going to lose. They were the defending champs. This is the aura around of a team that just doesn't lose basketball games. And even with it going to 7, I thought going into that Game 7 in Oklahoma City, I thought they were going to be able to do it. But I mean, Victor Wembanyama, unbelievable. Stefan Castle's been great. How about that chase down block from Luke Cornett? Incredible. People were talking about that being the best playoff chase down block since Braun. Unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't really find it, but I was doing some research, couldn't really find a better one. Dylan Harper pulls up in the MVP's mouth to essentially ice the game in the series, put him up double digits with under 5 minutes to go. Absolutely incredible. Chet Holmgren, absolute stinker. You score the first bucket of the game, don't score another field goal the rest of the game, only take two shots. Absolutely embarrassing. Clear to me that Wemby was absolutely in his head badly, and he was just in a funk mentally. You can't shake like that on a big stage. And nobody was helping out Shea in that game 7. No J Dub. He missed 4 games in the series, unfortunately. But I mean, still, somebody's got to help the MVP. It can't just be him. Congratulations to the San Antonio Spurs, and that is going to be a great series versus the New York Knicks. Two very exciting and hot teams.
Yeah, when you look at it, especially this Thunder Spurs series, when I look at that Thunder Spurs series and you take J Dub out of the equation, right? That the gap just shrinks. And then Wembanyama being what he is, it's just too much. And not by a ton, not by a ton, but just by enough. The Spurs without J Dub are a little better than the Thunder. When J Dub plays, it's much more even, and I actually think maybe the Thunder are a step, maybe two better. Like if J Dub plays the whole series, I think the Thunder win in six. And but you're not gonna do ifs, buts, and maybes, right? I mean, that's not what the Thunder are gonna do. They'll move on and be like, well, we should have won it without him because, quite frankly, they were very capable of doing that. They just didn't get it done. But without J Dub, yeah, they're just a really good team. They're not an all time great team. Whereas with J Dub, they might be an all time great team. It's obviously it's going to be a little bit harder to make that case now, especially because they weren't able to get this repeat championship going. But instead, it'll be the Spurs and the Knicks in the finals. I actually think it's a pretty bad matchup for the Knicks. Not that they would have matched up any better with the Thunder, but you just think about all those elbow jump shots that Brunson's going to take, and you've got Wembanyama in there to block him. I mean, it's going to be really difficult. They're going to have to clear the lane. They're going to have to try to figure out ways to get Wembanyama out of the way so that Brunson can go do what he does best. Because it's not like Cat's going to sit in the post and back down Wembanyama. That's not really going to work. So, you look at kind of what the Knicks do, and you're like, how are they going to score on this Spurs team? And when I look at that matchup, I just don't see the Knicks winning more than a game or two. But I was wrong in the Spurs series. I didn't think the Spurs would get more than two, and they won the series. So it certainly could happen. But you look at this Knicks team, you look at the Spurs team, you look at the matchups position for position, and I just like the Spurs.
It's gonna be a very interesting series. I mean, I think it's pretty even, but I think the Spurs definitely do have a leg up on the Knicks. Matt, I think is a really good point you made about the matchup wise. I mean, having Victor Wembanyama down low is very different than Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and those guys are great players. Don't get me wrong, but there's levels to the game, and levels on defense and offense. They're going to be able to stretch the floor much more with Wembanyama. Have to drag Cal out more than he was last season. Drag out the Nick bigs and just create good opportunities on offense. They're just so, I mean, the Spurs are so good and they're so young. With that, I mean, that young three, I mean, Harper, Castle, and Wembenyama, I love all three of those guys. They play so well together. They play so hard. I think offensively, they're such a bad matchup for the Knicks to defend. I just think with Wemby being able to stretch the floor so much is going to create so many more driving lanes for the other players. And then on defense, you make a great point. With Brunson's games getting down to that mid post area, kind of fading away, and if Wembenyama, his standing reach is just so crazy. He puts a hand up, he jumps up. It's going to cause a lot of great contests. And the Knicks, to their credit, have been very good at making difficult shots. Brunson's done it. I mean, Mikal Bridges has some of the most ridiculous turnaround corner jumpers I've ever seen in my life. But how sustainable is that against a team like San Antonio? Now, it's clear that the Knicks have not faced a team like this at all. And we knew going in that the two best teams in the league, maybe even three, were in the Western Conference. Now, seeing this now, we get it live and in color. Game three in the Garden is gonna be unbelievable. But game one and two, the Knicks have to take one, I believe, to really have a chance to win this series. If they go down 2-0, I just don't see them coming back from it. Game one is so important. Game one, I believe, in the Knicks Cavs series, that if the Cavs would have won game one when they were up 22 with 7 minutes left, it would have looked like a completely different series. I think it would have gone to at least 6 games, maybe even a game seven. But just the momentum just got so killed just by a horrible choke like that. If the Spurs were able to come out and dominate game one, I think it's going to be very hard for New York to recover. But on the other hand, if New York's able to go into San Antonio and steal game one and set the tone in the series, I think we're going to be looking at a very, very even series going forward.
All right, Jack, I'm going to do this, and I'm curious what you think. Rank the games 1 through 7 based on importance. So when you get to that game, how important is that game to win in your opinion? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
in an average series, all taken together, what, is game 2 the most important? Is game 4? Is game right? I mean, and the answer might be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But I don't think it is. So I'm curious to see what you think.
Well, I think obviously the most important game of the series is going to be that game seven. I mean,
Of
it's win or
course.
go. It's win or go home has to be. I honestly think the next most important game is game one. I think setting the tone for a series, and then I think you can kind of go back up top. I think game six would be at that third spot. Then game five. Then I honestly think it's game three. Then game two, and then game four. That would be my prediction or my take on the seven most important games in a row.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Game 7 most important. I actually have game 5 as my next most important. Then game 1, then game 6. And, it feels weird to have 6 down there, but I feel like a lot of times you'll see the home team win game 5, they'll go on the road and lose and then come back and win. And I feel like that's just fairly common. And so in that sense, I feel like Game 6 kind of loses some of its importance. Obviously, it's really important for the team that is facing elimination, but it's not that important for the team trying to eliminate somebody. In the grand scheme of the series, I think it comes in there. And then yeah, I'm with you on 4 and then 2 being the least important. I think it's kind of a fun experiment. Like obviously, all the games are important, but I think when you look at that like that. That sometimes, it's not necessarily just the next one is the most important. It's kind of like how does this shape out? So no, I love doing that. But yeah, Jack, I'm right there with you. I think the Knicks, have some pieces. Obviously, I don't think that they're good enough to win the series. But I do have this question for you: Are the Knicks likable? Like, do we like the Knicks? It's like it's almost hard to believe because I'm finding myself rooting for a New York team. Why? Why am I rooting for a New York team?
The worst, honestly, the worst thing in sports, and sometimes it happens where a franchise that usually you don't want to win has very likable players. And when you have a team like New York, where they have a lot of guys that are hard to hate. I mean, Brunson's just the man. I love his game. Josh Hart plays so hard. Mikal Bridges, I love his game. I mean, Cat, obviously the best 3-point shooting big man of all time. He won the 3-point contest. I'm a big fan of his since then, and even in college. The Knicks are a likable team. I mean, going down the list, Jose Alvarado. I mean, like GTA, love that guy. And I mean, Deuces played his part. I find myself honestly liking this New York team as well. I think they're a very fun team, and I'm so excited for this finals because I like both teams. This is not one where it's like, oh, like, well, this team should win, this team whatever. No, it's New York gets their first finals in forever, or Victor Wembanyama gets his first at 22 years old, reinstating the Spurs the dynasty in the league again, and it's just we're gonna get one of the two, and it's just such an incredible thing for basketball. Now, obviously, I feel like the NBA probably wants New York to win. I mean, if New York wins a championship, that's money's going to be growing on trees, falling from the sky for the NBA. But this is the best New York team in I don't even know how long, 40, 50 years maybe. I mean, they are an incredible team and have really showed a new level to their defense throughout these playoffs. Because that was always really the question. We knew they could score the ball. They have scores, clearly. But their ability to really hone down on their defense and lock teams up throughout a whole series. They've won 11 games in a row. I mean, teams are not able to score on them, not get into a groove, and that is a genuine concern right now for the San Antonio Spurs. Seeing this is that when the Spurs are in a groove and they're playing in their flow of basketball, they are nearly impossible to stop. But if you kind of get them in a funk, no basketball team's as good as they usually are if they're in a funk. And if the Knicks are able to do that, they have a legitimate shot at stealing games. And now going back to our prior argument with a game one, game two, what game is the most important? If you are able to go in, if New York's able to go into San Antonio and steal that first game, then obviously game two is like, okay, well, then San Antonio's got to win this game. Like, it's all right. They're probably going to win that game. But if they're able to do that and get San Antonio in a funk early, it's going to be so difficult for them to get back into it. But they have Victor Wembanyama at the end of the day.
Yeah, they do. They have the best player in the world. So it always makes it tough when you get the best player in the world. And Wemby has proven that is him. Shea had a great end of the series there, but I mean, I just think Wemby's kind of transcended, and it's the future of the league. We're all staring at it. I'm afraid of the Spurs dynasty. I don't want Wemby to win like 9 championships. Like, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, this could be trouble if Wemby gives one already. And I think he will. I think he will. But part of me's like, can New York stave it off for one more year? I was hoping the Thunder could. Like, let's just one more year, please, one more year. But yeah, I mean, it's man, the future of the game. It's unreal. It's coming. It's coming right before our eyes. So Wembanyama, and the other part of this though, that I will say, because everybody's gonna jump on the it's gonna be Wemby's whatever he's gonna. Do you remember how people were talking about Jokic though when the Nuggets won that first title? And when the Nuggets won that title, everyone's like, "All right, well the Nuggets now are gonna go on this run, and it's gonna be the Nuggets and Jokic, and everybody's like Jokic, Jokic, Jokic," and they really haven't even challenged since then. So you never really know, right? It's hard to say that there's gonna be a dynasty. Like it's for the Thunder, everyone's like, "Oh, the Thunder, they're gonna be so good. They're gonna be so good for years upon years upon years." and they lost. It's the nature of the game doesn't really allow for dynasties like the Warriors and the Cavs to happen. Now, that happened, right? But I don't think we'll ever see that again. We might, but I think it's unlikely that we'll see that again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the you're talking about that matchup, and I think the one thing really to point to is the 8 straight finals appearances from LeBron James across multiple franchises. I think that'll never be done again, and I just think the way everything kind of fell into place, where for Cleveland and Miami, and it wasn't really falling into place at times, but they had LeBron. Now we're gonna see if Wemby can do that same thing. The thing that happened in a lot of these different runs is injuries, and we did not get to see the Thunder at full strength for the 7 game series for the Spurs, which is really unfortunate. But to credit the Spurs, they went in and they won the series. But I think that there's a lot of different teams now that can do that. I think that Nuggets team was strong too. Jokic got a lot of credit, and obviously he was the MVP. 3 of them, I don't know, but he's one of the best players, if not the best player in the world. What he's able to do, his defense is a little lackluster, but if you're a big man who can do really everything, and you're putting up a 28-point triple double really every night easily, it's kind of hard to say like, oh, they're not going to be able to do this again. But I mean, Jamal Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, all good players, and they had a pretty strong roster there and a very weak playoff run, to be completely honest. I mean, that Heat team was not a finals caliber team that they beat. I mean, that was just a pretty weak run, but they won, so you can't take it away from them. I just think that if the Spurs were able to win, then I think it would be just so incredible if we get the Spurs and the Thunder as the number 1 and number 2 seed next year. And if the Spurs win the finals this year, you get the defending champs versus the team that won the year before in another 7 game series. Those two teams are, in my opinion, going to be the best for at least a few years to come. It's going to be
Yeah.
very interesting to see what the Thunder are going to do, though, because they have a lot of players that are going to want a lot of money. They get Jared McCain in the trade. He's going to want a lot of money. J Dubs, obviously, I think he already got paid. Shay's on 70 something million dollars a year. But there's other guys that are going to need their bread. And it's going to come a time where either they're going to have to ship off some big dogs with some picks and go get a guy like Giannis, or they're just going to have to accept they're going to break up at some point. Now, the Spurs, they got some time. They got more time than the Thunder, at least, because, I mean, Wemby, Castle, and Harper. I mean, Harper's a rookie. Castle's in his 2nd year. Wemby's in his 3rd year. You got time with these guys. It's gonna be very interesting to see what happens with both franchises. And what's your take on it? Because it's a very, I mean, these two teams are at the top of the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Thunder break it up. I mean, Hartenstein's likely going to leave this summer, so that's one. I think that the Thunder are going to try to do something with those picks, whether that's to get a Daymara or to get Cam Boozer, which is the new conversation that they may try to go get Cam Boozer, have a little bit more of a post presence as a scorer, which I don't hate that idea, but I don't know if they can get him. I don't know if they have anything valuable enough to give up, but it's worth a shot. They have some depth that they can trade, and then maybe McCain goes in that. I could see McCain leaving. I don't think they want to get rid of McCain, but I don't know if they can afford to keep him and the other guys around. And obviously, McCain only in his is it 2nd year or 3rd year?
Yeah. Yeah, 2nd year.
2nd year. So I mean, he's not been around a whole long time. So you still maybe have a little bit more time with him, but you could ship him off. He'd have really good trade value right now. So yeah, you look at that and you know that this Thunder team can't stay together forever, but maybe for a little bit. It's also a small market team, so that hurts him. That hurts him for sure. But Presti's a genius. I don't have any doubt that he's going to be able to keep it going. And then for the Spurs, yeah, I mean, this is the team for years to come. So exciting stuff in the NBA. Jack, what's your prediction right now? Spurs, Knicks, how many games?
Spurs in 6. Spurs in
Yep.
6 is my official prediction. I think they're gonna over the Knicks might get a game early. I just think the overwhelming firepower that the Spurs possess would be too much. I think the matchup is too difficult for New York. It would be great to see New York get a couple games. I don't want it to be a quick series. I want to see a lot of basketball. The basketball season coming to an end. I don't want it to end. I love it. The NBA playoffs are awesome, but I do think the Spurs are too good of a team. Victor Wembanyama will win his first ring, get his Finals MVP, and really kickstart what will be an incredible career.
Yeah, I think Spurs in five. Um, they just got too much. But that game 3 win for the Knicks in the Garden is going to be absolutely glorious. I mean, it is going to be raucous, exciting. That Garden's going to be bumping. The Knicks will 100%. I'm calling it now. No matter what the series is, The Knicks will 100% win Game 3. 100%. That's by argument. I'd put my house on it.
Wow.
Do you feel that way too, Jack, or no?
Seeing you believe it that confident, I think I'm gonna take a little wager out and slam the Knicks.
There's just
Just
no way they lose the first finals game at home. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
and they'll probably be. I mean, it'll probably be close to even money. The Spurs are 4.5 point favorites in Game One. I think it'll probably stay the same for Game Two. Game Three, if it's 1-1 or it's 2-0, if it's 2-0 San Antonio, I feel like the odds will be even, or the Knicks might even be slight favorites. San Antonio's like minus 190 to win the finals. The most bet money is on the Spurs at 4-1. So they're saying that it's a pretty even series, but the money is on the Spurs getting them out of there pretty quickly. So again, I think I think you're pretty hit it on the head there with the Knicks needing game three and will win game three. That could be one of the coolest environments we've ever seen in basketball, to
It
be
could be.
honest.
Could
It
very
really
well be.
could be. I mean, there's gonna be every celebrity that's ever like New York there. The atmosphere is just gonna be so electric. I'm excited to see what it looks like around New York. They've already started shutting down the streets. They're already preparing for it. The police are out. They're ready to go. It is going to be utter scenes in New York City, and I'm
You see,
excited to see all of it.
yeah, Mom Donnie's been out there talking about it, and I mean, you know what? Like, politics aside, I do love that we have some politicians that care about their cities and their sports teams and stuff like that. That is really cool to see. I just, I love to see guys that represent a city and that represent the interests of the city, and the sports team is a major interest of the city. So a lot of these politicians, I think, should support the sports teams. I know sometimes it's hard, right? You're in New York and you've got two different teams, but there's nothing wrong with being a fan. Like I have no problem with that. So I love seeing him do that. It's really cool. You've seen a couple of guys do that. Even our boy Donnie in the White House, he's putting on the UFC event, right? So it's just cool to see people in that realm embrace sports as well. But yeah, certainly some cool stuff going on in New York and an exciting finals. So the other big event this summer, Jack, is the World Cup. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit of a different avenue of soccer here on the club side. PSG wins the Champions League over Arsenal. Gabriel misses the penalty, a heartbreaker for the Gunners. But I feel like they won the league. You kind of got your satisfaction. Obviously, that one hurts because of the way that it happened, but it was an expected result.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the odds were a lot closer than I thought they were going to be. PSG was only minus 130. I thought they were going to be like minus 250 to lift the cup in this game. But to Arsenal's credit, and they played the way people thought they were going to play. Kai Havertz gets an incredible finish in the 5th minute of the game. They just sit back. And then the penalty comes. But I think if Dembele would have missed that penalty, I don't think they would have gotten another chance. They were not getting a lot of chances to score in that game. Obviously, goes to extra time, and everybody's really locked in. Going to be very hard to score there, especially with the defensive minded team. But that penalty shootout was absolutely heartbreaking. Gabriel, who had played one of his best games of the season, I mean, he was absolutely fantastic in that game, just blows it over by 10, 15 feet. And the thing is, and the immediate thought I have there is, wow, if he was doing that in practice, that would never happen. He probably would do 1,000 in a row, straight top bins or bottom corner or wherever. But the one that matters, skies it over. PSG celebrate with back to back. No sign of slowing down. Poor Kylian Mbappe, man, but his fault for leaving. But back to back Champions Leagues for PSG. Fair play to them. And what an incredible story and what an incredible run they've been on. I mean, they've won two Champions Leagues. Roy McIlroy's won two green jackets since the last time the New York Jets have gotten an interception.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. But yeah, it's great for PSG. Cool for that city who really have struggled on the international stage for quite some time, and have now figured it out with this roster. Vitinha and João Neves are just so good in the midfield. I mean, it's unbelievable how good they are. And it makes me really excited for Portugal because they've got those two suckers and Bruno Fernandes. I mean, think how dangerous Portugal could be this summer. And not to mention Gonçalo Ramos, who's on the bench for PSG, who came in at the end of the game, has scored like 40 goals in the last two seasons off the bench. I mean, he's had a great little run. So you look at that for Portugal, super exciting for the World Cup, and we'll get into a little more international football here in a second. But yeah, for PSG, yes, for Arsenal, heartbreak. Arsenal will be back. I think they're going to make some more signings and bolster that team a little bit. They'll probably be the favorites to win the Premier League yet again, and then one of the Champions League favorites. But this PSG squad's not going anywhere. I mean, there's no one on that team that I see leaving anytime soon. So unless they just drop in quality, lose some of the hunger, they'll be right back in the mix next year. So super exciting. And they have a manager in Enrique who's begging for people to sign him on Twitch streams. On Twitch streams, like 2 years ago. Could you believe that? I mean, it's unbelievable that he is the manager of PSG and he has just won back-to-back Champions Leagues. His celebrations were awesome, as they should be, back-to-back for the Parisians. I expect another great year from them next year. But yeah, I mean, an absolutely great run by Arsenal, who get to the final for the first time, and they were very competitive, had a very good shot to win that thing. And you come short in a way like that, it always hurts. Eze's penalty was a joke. Gabriel, you miss that penalty sometimes. You try to put it top ends, you miss it high. It happens. Eze's penalty was so bad. He tried to do that fancy run up, and he's missed every time he's done. He's 0 for 3 doing that run up. He should completely abandon that run up, never do it again. And for Arsenal, they still get the league. They are still very happy there in North London, and the loss hurts, but it's not as bad as it could have been. So, what a season of club soccer! Super exciting, and now we get to go into the World Cup, Jack. It's going to be awesome.
The World Cup is one of, if not the best events in sports. We get a full month of it. You're going to be out there covering it. Going to be absolutely an unbelievable experience. I'm very happy for you there. There are a lot of teams that could win this thing. And usually, I mean, I don't know how it's always been, but feels like a couple clubs, maybe one or two of these countries that really have a chance to win. This year, I mean, my three front runners right now are Spain, Portugal, and France. And I think all three of them are really right there, even in my opinion. I think France may be a slight favorite, but I think all three of those countries are so strong with such good rosters. I'm so excited to see how it pans out. And I love these big matchups. These big matchups are really what I live for. Now, I'm trying to go to some World Cup games, and obviously the knockout stage isn't really out yet of who's going to play who. The prices are ungodly, but
They're
the
coming down.
passion in these soccer games are just so unbelievable, and I'm so excited for the tournament. I really do love this, and I love the Euros too, and the Copa's fun, but this is just a different level, 100%.
Yeah, it's awesome. Super excited for it. I'll be in Mexico. I'm leaving on Saturday to head down there. We'll be in Mexico City for the entirety of the group stages. So super excited for that. Should be awesome. I'll be writing for the Associated Press. So I'm very, very excited, and it'll be a unbelievable atmosphere down there in Mexico, as it will be in the United States, as it will be in Canada here for this World Cup. The U.S. played the other day, Jack. They get a 3-2 win over Senegal. Christian Pulisic back in the goals. Serginho Dest as well got himself a goal. We saw Balogun in some of his play. Sadio Mane scores twice for Senegal. Senegal is kind of one of these teams that a lot of people are high on as a dark horse. And the United States beats them on home soil with a good crowd. And to be honest with you, 3-2 is not a reflective result, in my opinion. I thought the United States was 2, maybe even 3 goals better than Senegal. And those that watch the game agree with that. That scoreline is not indicative of how good the United States played. So when you look at a game like that heading into the World Cup, now they have Germany on Saturday. We maybe snap back to reality a little bit. But when I watch that game, I'm like, okay, I see it. I see how the U.S. could potentially win some games here at the World Cup. They have so much talent, so much talent. And the athleticism is off the charts. If Anthony Robinson has a good tournament, because he didn't have a very good game, if he's got a good tournament at left back, I really like the entirety of the United States' roster. I don't think Berhalter is going to start. I think it'll be McKinney. A lot of people are worried about Berhalter. If he starts Berhalter, that's going to be a huge mistake. But I believe it's going to be McKinney in there. I like what the U.S. has. I'm excited for the United States. I think that this could be the tournament where we get to a quarterfinal, maybe even a Final Four. And just you play on home soil. Anytime you play on home soil, it just makes it that much easier. And the edge, you don't need that much of an edge in these tournaments because these teams are so competitive and they want it so bad that just a little bit of an edge sometimes can push you over. So I'm excited for the United States, and that Senegal result was a great sign, in my opinion.
This is the best U.S. team since when, do you think? Soccer was.
Technically, ever. On the ball, the ability to pass, all that stuff, ever. Now, the 2014 team holds a special place in most of our hearts because of the way that they played. They wanted it more than anyone. Clint Dempsey, Josie Altador, Jermaine Jones. Those guys, I mean, they wanted it. John Brooks, Tim Howard, those guys wanted it. And that's what we've been missing with this team. On Saturday, you saw it. Or whenever they played. I don't know that it was Saturday, but when they beat Senegal, you saw it. And you saw that that team can be like that 2014 team in the will and the want and the desire to win. And if they can have that aspect of these old United States teams, even the crap ones, like from back in '94, even the crap United States teams, at least they wanted it. That's been the criticism of the modern United States teams is that they don't want it as bad as those teams did. They don't represent their country in the same way. If this team can harness that kind of energy, then I really think that the ceiling is very, very high. They could beat anybody except for France and Spain. As long as you don't get matched up with those two, I think that this United States team could beat on one day, could, not will, could beat anybody in the world. That's my opinion. And I don't think it's crazy to say that because none of these international teams outside of France and Spain are complete, in my opinion. They're all missing something. And so the United States has athleticism, they have the pieces, they could beat any of these teams. So that's I'm super excited for this team. I think that they have a very high ceiling. I'm not saying that they're going to make that kind of run. I'm just saying that they can. And it was good to see that because I think a lot of people have started to be down on them.
That's very interesting to hear, and I'm very excited to hear that is the passion. That makes it so much easier for a guy like me who's not all the way tapped in and doesn't know every single player on the roster. But when I tune into the games, if I see that the team really wants to win, then it will be the whole much more and just a much better experience for me and for everybody really who's kind of like a casual-ish USA soccer fan. Because honestly, if the USA makes a run, this country's gonna be on fire. It'd be absolutely electric on the home soil if the USA goes out there and starts to make a run. I mean, just builds momentum behind them. It'd be absolute scenery. That would be so electric.
It
You're
would be
getting me hyped
awesome.
for it right now.
It
I
would
want to
be
see the
awesome.
U. I want to see the U.S. make a run at this thing. This is, I mean, the only time we're probably going to get this on our home soil. Going to be absolutely incredible. I'm going to have to hit a 12-leg parlay because if the USA makes it to a Final Four, a quarterfinal, I might have to go pop out and try and be there because it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Absolutely incredible. USA soccer. Come on. Come
Come
on.
on. I
Come
believe that we
on.
will win. That's right,
Come
baby.
on.
All right, Jack, let's get into the UFC a little bit. Let's hear what's going on in that world. We do have a full World Cup show coming up. We're going to do that very soon. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But we'll dive into the UFC here and wrap it up with that. Let's hear it, Jack.
All right, so next weekend it's kind of it's a fight night. So some great. There's a couple good fights, but not the best. We're obviously looking forward to 2 weeks where we get the UFC White House card, a historic day, once in a lifetime event. That does not mean this card is not exciting. In the welterweight division, we have fifth ranked Bilal Muhammad versus 11th ranked Gabriel Bonfim. That's a very good fight. Even odds. Bilal Muhammad's 2 fights removed from being the UFC welterweight champion, has held the belt. Any former champion gains a lot of respect from really everybody in the MMA community, and he's had a lot of talk of, oh, this guy's a boring fighter. But when he lost the belt to Jack Della Maddalena, he went out on his shield and he did not wrestle as much as he should have, and just went out there and tried to strike with him. Great respect to him. Now, Gabriel Bonfim is a great fighter. He's got a good stand-up game. Obviously, he's a jiu-jitsu wizard. But I think that the striking battle here is really what it's going to come down to. If Bilal Muhammad's able to kind of get on his jab and kind of be able to keep Bonfim on the outside, I think he'll be able to cruise to a decision. Now, if Bonfim's able to get inside on him and create mix-up and scrambles and even get Bilal to the ground because Bilal is aging, and I think that's a big factor in fighting is you can only take so much punishment, and especially it's such a long career, and it's so hard when you're getting hit and the sparring and the hard training that it could wear on a guy like Bilal Muhammad. But I do think this is a very close to even fight, and I'm very excited for it. Now in the co-main event, Brendan Allen, the fourth ranked middleweight, versus Edmund Shabazian, who's coming up to middleweight. Edmund Shabazian draws the fourth ranked fighter, which means that if he wins, automatically top five, and right there, maybe 1 or 2 fights removed from a title shot. Edmund, very exciting fighter, loves to go out and try and get the finish. Brendan Allen, fantastic wrestler, able to weather a lot of storms in the UFC. RDR, Renier de Ritter, was on a great run, took Bo Nichols' O. Brendan Allen shut him down and essentially made Renier de Ritter quit on the stool. After 3 rounds, Renier said he had enough, couldn't even get up anymore. Was like, all right, fight's over. I can't even move anymore. So that's going to be a good fight. Brendan Allen, pretty sizable favorite as he should be in this spot, but I believe this fight's closer than the odds show. I think the striking ability that Shabazian presents and the power that he presents makes this fight not even, but close than the odds show. So moving down the list, Fares Ziam, the 14th ranked lightweight fighter, takes on Tom Nolan, the 8-1 prospect. Fares Ziam is on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC. He is a dangerous fighter, has some flash KOs, has some very great finishes, and is an all around great fighter. And I believe that he's going to cruise to a win here. I believe it could be either be an early finish or a decision. I think he's too good of a fighter with too much experience. And in fighting, a lot of times, it comes down to experience. There are guys who have all the promise in the world, but what they don't have is that veteran experience. They've never been in a dogfight before. They've never been hit in the face a bunch of times and have had to come back from it. They just cruise as an up and comer fighting guys that they're supposed to beat, and they go out there and they maybe get hit once or twice, but they dominate the fight and they get early finishes. When you fight guys who have been there before and will make it dirty and are not scared to make it dirty and will walk forward and continue to get hit by you, that's when you find out if a guy really has that championship mentality. And so we're going to see that this weekend. Going to be very interesting. Moving down the list, Bryce Mitchell, very controversial fighter, has said a lot of crazy things on the internet, but internet aside and all his theatrics, the guy can fight. He was a 145 pounder, moved down to 135 pounds. He got dominated by John Silva. Ilia Topuria submitted him brutally, beat him badly. But as soon he's dropped down to 135, he's a big 135er that has a great wrestling base. And if he's able to get Santiago Luna to the ground and hold him there, which he very well could do, I see him cruising to a submission or a decision win. But I think a late submission could come just based off the pressure that he presents. Luna is a good fighter, but I think the odds are too close. I think Bryce Mitchell will show levels. Now moving down, very interesting fight. Iwo Barnieski, good fighter, 3 straight knockouts. I have a little bit of a personal vendetta versus Iwo, but he is a great fighter. And he fights Junior Tafa, which I feel like is a complete setup fight for him. I think Iwo gets him in the first round. I just think Tafa leaves his chin up in the air. Ewo's got too much power. I think he's going to be able to get him out of there fairly easily. I think this is no longer than a 4-minute fight. That's the main card for this weekend. Fight night, Muhammed versus Bonfim. A pretty interesting fight night and is a good lead up card to June 14th at the White House. The first ever Sunday card in UFC history. Flag Day, Trump's birthday, the whole spectacle. Going to be an unbelievable night for the UFC, and I can't stop talking about it. This is a once in a lifetime experience, and this is never going to happen again. I mean, no president's ever going to agree to do this, to put a whole UFC card on the lawn of the White House. There is a lot of controversy in this event, though. A lot of artists are starting to pull out. People are not fans of it. There's a lot of different things going on that people aren't too happy with. But as a fight fan, all I'm really interested in is it's happening and who's fighting. And I'm very excited, but not looking over this weekend of fights at all. This is a pretty strong fight night, to be completely honest with you. Good fights across the board. There's a lot of times where the UFC will do fight nights in the Apex Center leading up to a big card and they won't really care about it. They're like, oh, we'll just throw some guys on here because nobody cares and we're going to get it next week. This is not what they're doing. This is a very strong fight night card. And so this is no slouch at all. I'm excited to watch this card. I think there's a lot of very close and interesting fights on this card, but I can't stop thinking about Ilia Topuria fighting Justin Gaethje, Poatan versus Cyril Gahn. That is my UFC wrap up. Very good podcast, Jack. Always excited to do it with you. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one, guys.
As always, a great one, Jack. Yeah, make sure to follow us on all of our platforms. We post on Instagram, TikTok, as well as on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there, as well as YouTube, and then that Instagram and TikTok. Make sure to follow us on all those platforms. We appreciate you guys, and peace out. We will see you next week, or maybe before that with a World Cup episode. Stay tuned.